ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम सहना भवतु, सहनौ भुनक्तु, सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै, तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Good evening. Welcome to the Nista discussion. Last class we discussed about Sattvika Buddhi connected with Shastra, Shruti Mataha, and why Sattvika Buddhi is important, etc. One of the things that are helpful to cultivate Sattvik Buddhi, cultivate a kind of naturally restrained, serene state of mind, what we call as the natural mind, right? In any situation that we might experience either outside through our senses or inside from our memory as a recurrent, unpleasant reactions to it level, we get affected by experiences. This is the fact of life. Some news brings us elation, some other news brings us depression. We think we are somebody's friend, but when that friend gains something that is highly desired by us, we might feel envious or jealous. Sometimes we are not empathetic to the other person's difficulty and we might intentionally inflict harm or have thoughts of inflicting harm. And when somebody is doing a lot of virtuous thing, we might feel envious. We might compare ourselves and feel bad, or we might get motivated or inspired by it. Every day in our life, in the cities, and, when you read the news, etc., you see a lot of unpleasant things that we can't do anything about. Non-virtuous things, evil things that are happening all around us. Something or the other is happening. No matter where you go, there is always some evil event that is happening that you cannot even imagine. You have that kind of evil happening. We come to know about all that. There are a lot of people demonstrating things like that. Yeah. Now these are all inevitable situations in life. We cannot escape them. No matter where you go, there will always be something that can disturb your peace that you cannot control. Just like how if you have a very strong body, good muscles and all that, your body is able to take a little bit of strain, an extra strain, if you have to run a bit or you have to climb a flight of stairs or you have to lift some weight or if you are exposed to some cold or heat, your body is able to maintain a certain level of balance and well-being and not be thrown off balance by the challenge that is posed in the task or in the climate. This is the healthy body, right? So similarly, there is this aspect of mind that keeps life going. We are not consciously operating that level of mind, just like how we are not consciously operating all the responses of our body. How our body digests food, don't have control over it. Once you have eaten the food, you are at the mercy of the digestive system. Similarly, if you depending on your cholesterol and all those things, you are at the mercy of your circulatory system. Depending on your neurotransmitters, etc., you are at the mercy of your endocrine and your nervous system. All your moods are at the mercy of some very trace level chemicals in your body, right? So this body activities and all that, it happens according to some order, some mechanism. Similarly, how we need a healthy body, when all the when the body is able to have a certain level of resilience to stay balanced and stay healthy. Similarly, what would you call a healthy mind? A healthy mind is some something, a quality of the mind. When the mind has this quality of not being thrown off its peace, if the mind has the quality of being able to come back to peace even if disturbed, it comes back to peace very fast. Whatever disturbance that has taken place in mind, it does not take a deep root and keep nagging the mind endlessly. So the mind is able to let go easily and come back. So how much our mind, the aspect of the mind that is not conscious, the aspect of the mind that is natural, what we call as chitta, not the buddhi. So we talked about buddhi, mostly buddhi in the last class. Now I am talking about chitta. Chitta is the aspect of the mind that we happen to observe, that behaves in a certain way because of its conditioning, and we only get to observe it. After the mind exhibits a certain behavior, we are able to observe it and then we are able to act on it, right? After I feel bad, I go and watch some comedy videos and try to feel good, or listen to some music and feel better. So that is my response, my buddhi response, conscious response to what happens to my mind naturally. So that what happens, whatever happens to the mind naturally, the natural mind is what I refer to as chitta in our context, in our discussion today. Now there is a concept in yoga called chitta prasadanam, means serenity of mind, the ability of the mind to stay peaceful, unruffled. This natural mind, ability of our natural mind, a natural mind cultivated in such a way that it's not able, does not lose its cool, and even if it loses its cool, it comes back to cool very fast. A kind of a chill natural mind. It's not the insensitive tamasic kind, but a very sattvic and a very alert, a very sensitive natural mind that is able to maintain its peace and serenity in spite of the sensitivity and alertness. That is called chitta prasadanam. So in Yoga Sutra, there is a sutra that deals with this. I think 33, sutra number 33, Samadhi Pada. Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam Sukha Dukha Punya Apunya Vishayanam Bhavanartha Chitta Prasadanam. This is the sutra. Now we are going to discuss how to bridge the gap between theory and practice. So how does it practically translate? And the reason for discussing this is because this naturally serene mind is a great accessory for knowledge. It is a great accessory for a spiritual life. It is a great accessory for all our endeavors that are directed towards inner growth and spiritual evolution and development. If we are going to get ruffled by anything and everything around us and by random events in life, we will not be able to pursue worldly goals also, let alone spiritual goals. If you want to go from your home, your mom or somebody asks you to go to a supermarket and buy some rava and some vegetables for making upma. Okay. You go into supermarket and come back. There are people waiting. People are hungry. You have to, because upma is quick dish, so you have to make it. So they are going to make it. They've asked you to buy some vegetables and rava from the next street supermarket. So you're going. On the way, you see some, you know, mm, let us say somebody's somebody has parked their vehicle in a very irresponsible way, and i- and it is something that has been annoying you all the time, and you have told that person, but the same thing is happening again and again. Irresponsible, careless parking without giving due respect to others' convenience. This is something that happens all over the world. Yeah. Uh, Now you can pick up a fight, forget all about the upma, get completely pissed off about that, and then you pick up a fight and you get you know, and you can go on, and then it can lead to police case, and then it gets complicated. While people in your house are sitting and waiting, what happened to the upma? Now, what happened to the rava and the vegetable? So this is a very simple random thing. Can it can simply take you off, and you can forget your goal. These kind of things, if it excites you at the wrong spot, if an event on your way to pursuing your goal, on your journey towards your goal, a simple goal like buying groceries from supermarket, on the way to that, if there is something that can trigger you at the right spot, it can hit you at the right spot, you are going to lose your cool. Now that's fine, that's natural, that's going to happen. Now, having lost the cool, do you lose the cool so much that this disturbed natural mind is hijacking your buddhi? You remember when we talked about destruction of the individual means inability to pursue a purushartha, inability to pursue a consciously chosen goal. So that is what is destruction of the individual. So this natural mind, if it is not trained properly, if it is not trained properly enough to have the resilience to come back to a serene state and a balanced state, even when disturbed. When the training is not there, this natural mind has a capacity to hijack your intellect. And it may be too late before you wake up to why you are actually in that place in the first place. No, why were you there in that situation in the first place? Oh, I was going to buy rava. So this this is a simple, but sounds silly, but if you really think how many situations happen in our life that hijacks our thinking faculty, hijacks our judgment, we forget our purpose, we get carried away by the demand of the natural mind. Yeah, that emotional demand that arises in us. Suddenly there is an emotional trigger, something triggers some kind of emotion, and then the trigger becomes very, very strong. The difference between clinically disturbed people who cannot function without psychiatric medicine and normal people is that the chitta has been allowed to stay imbalanced for a very long time, So it has become a deeply embedded nervous habit, and it has become a very deeply embedded pattern of a cognitive pattern. So they are not available at all. You have to make sure it's like walking on tenter hooks around them. A little bit something triggers, they can completely lose their cool, and the whole situation can go in another direction. That's what, don't when friends are all meeting, they say don't touch these sensitive issues, sensitive points, and things like that. Yeah. So it can escalate. We can always see one of the reasons is these one of the famous things that we see in movies and all that is this bar fights. There are always fights in bar. When you see, it's like a standard thing in, if you watch these any movie or a series or something, telenovel, in many occasions when they show a bar, it always ends up in some kind of fight on many occasions. Yeah. Why a bar is always associated with aggression and fight? Because of the alcohol, the apana vayu is more, and because of apana vayu is more, the uh, chitta is more random. No, it's more random, and the emotions are getting a higher level of force. The buddhi becomes secondary and the emotions become predominant. So it is easy for the emotions to hijack the buddhi under alcohol. That is why under the influence of alcohol or some other drugs, where the chemical balance of the brain is disturbed, they become aggressive and they go far away from what is called as a sane behavior. Right. So that is where the diet and other things, yogic diet, the lifestyle, and all the disciplines, physical disciplines, diet disciplines, and all the anushtanam, and everything comes in that. Saucham, etc. All that comes in yama niyamadi. They come under, so that you provide a context where you can work with your mind. Right. So it is like a fence. The yama niyama is like a fence. We have discussed that. So now coming back to chitta prasadanam. Chitta prasadanam, cultivating a serene mind, is as important as having a balanced lifestyle. Now, healthy lifestyle, healthy body. Similarly, this. So this chitta prasadanam, the serene, cultivated serene mind, this practice of maitri, friendliness, karuna, compassion, mudita, a kind of a gladness, upeksha, a, a, a sort of a high-minded indifference, or happy, for pleasurable situations enjoyed by others. When someone enjoys a pleasurable or a happy situation, or somebody enjoys a painful situation, friendliness towards people enjoying pleasures and joys, compassion towards those who are suffering in pain, gladness towards those who are performing virtuous action, high-minded indifference, where you cultivate this kind of a balanced temperament and an indifference towards non-virtuous or evil actions that are inescapable and that cannot be corrected, where you don't have a place to correct it or you can't do anything about it. So in those situations, you have an indifference. Even when you have an indifference, so not to be affected by it, not allowing the evil actions around us to have an impact on us to disturb our peace. So Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upesha, friendship, compassion, friendliness, compassion, gladness, and indifference towards happy, pleasurable, painful, virtuous, non-virtuous situation. Practicing that. Practicing bhavanartha means cultivating that emotion, that temperament towards a friendly temperament. Cultivating a friendly temperament. through thoughts, friendly thoughts, encouraging friendly words, conversations, expressions, kindness, doing acts of kindness, expressing your kindness in a way to see how doing something to alleviate the pain of the other person. Karuna. In action, actually, it is in thought, word, and action. Using your faculties, using your thinking, your speech, and your action, encouraging friendliness towards those who are enjoying pleasure and joys. Through thought, word, and action, expressing kindness, encouraging acts of kindness towards those who are in pain. If you can't do anything, at least you sit and pray for their welfare a little bit. Whenever you encounter pain, have a empathetic, compassionate, kind, mental, physical, or a verbal gesture towards them. Mudita, gladness. Whenever you see a virtuous action happening, you know, somebody is doing annadana. So you happen to see that today this is Ashada Masam. You see a lot of temples they're doing annadana. Somebody is sponsoring annadana. Nowadays they put a huge poster. He's your neighbor. He's suddenly, his poster is there. His name is there. Annadanam sponsored by so and so. You know that person. That's a virtuous action. Now instead of his name is on the board. What this fellow is a useless fraud. He is making money from cheating and all that. And then now he is doing Annadanam and putting his name in such a huge banner. We can people comment like that. So instead of that, oh, he's doing Annadanam. That's great. That's wonderful. So you feel very glad that this person is doing Annadanam. Whether he's a fraud or he's a good person, bad person, or he's whatever he is in his private life that you might know of, this is not the moment to think about. This is the moment to appreciate the virtuous action. In Bangladesh, there was a place where there was a Hindu temple, like some Kali temple. Some Muslims, students and others, they circled the Kali temple and protected it from any arson attack from the other fanatics who are going and destroying Hindu temples and attacking and Hindus in Bangladesh. There's a circle of Muslims protecting it. Now there you appreciate the humanity that they are doing a virtuous action of protecting the temple that belongs to the minorities, right? To Hindus. Even though their belief tells them, their religion tells them to break the temple, they are protecting it. So they have chosen humanity and virtue over their whatever is their religion demands of them, whatever their mullahs tell them to do. They have chosen this over that. So that is virtue. So they have chosen virtue over bigotry. So you feel glad towards them. You feel glad that they're doing this virtuous action, irrespective of what their beliefs are. No, you don't. That is not the time to think about when they are doing all these things. Why are they subscribing to? Why they do not condemn such verses in their scripture? Why they do not condemn their religious leaders? No, you don't have to think about it. They are doing something virtuous. Appreciate it. Somebody, you are not in a very good terms with somebody, but still that person is doing some anadanam or something. You appreciate that. You mentally feel glad for it, or you don't feel envious. So you are doing some. Let us say you are sponsoring an event, and your friend is sponsoring another event. Your neighbor or somebody is sponsoring another event, and that event is sponsored bigger. There is a possibility to feel envious about it. So instead of that, when we cultivate mudita, gladness, that no, oh, he's able to do so much more. It's wonderful that such nice things are happening. It's wonderful that much more people are able to benefit from that, from his sponsorship, than whatever I'm able to do. He's able to do more. That's more people are getting benefited. Oh, I'm so happy for it. You can say some nice words. Talk about it to somebody in a nice way that expresses your gladness. Go up to that person and appreciate that. That is gladness. Upeksha. There are a lot of things happening around us. All you have to do is to Randomly open any newspaper or any news website, and you have enough of apunya vishaya. Apunya means the non-virtuous actions that are happening, heinous crimes, unimaginable. When you see that, when it comes into, you don't have to deliberately go and look for it. In Kali Yuga, it will come across your field of knowledge. It will come into your attention, whether you want it or not. So whenever such things come into your attention, cultivate an indifference. See that as part of the big picture. World is, good and bad put together. World, the life and the humanity and the world is sattva guna, rajoguna, tamoguna combination. So there are, as much as there are going to be sattvic actions, there are going to be rajasic actions and tamasic actions. As much as there is going to be virtue, there is going to be vice. As much as there is going to be punya, there is going to be papa. So this is all part of the big picture of life, the flow of life. It has various shades, right? So you philosophize it, you learn to cultivate an indifference from a higher level of understanding, where you see it all in the big picture. Yeah. So that way you don't allow that negative information to affect you in a very personal way. So it doesn't disturb your emotions. Now, will this prevent you from taking any affirmative action that is required? No, it will not prevent you. It will keep you sane enough so that if you have within your sphere of influence to do something about that crime or that sinful activity, if you can do something about it, you can do some affirmative action that will prevent it in the future or bring justice to the victims who are affected. If something can be done about it, your mind is available to do it in the right way, in the right measure, in the right context, in the right timing. So you will be able to do it effectively because you are not personally affected. If you are personally affected, there is more possibility for us to, if we get personally affected, there is more possibility for us to make a mistake and not be effective in our affirmative action, right? In our corrective action. So chitta prasadanam is important even if we want to do something, contribute something to remove the correct the situation. Still we need to have a serene state of mind so that we have enough objectivity to do what is effective, to act effectively and not ruin our life and our peace in the process of acting on something that is not. Yeah. So these four practices of friendliness, compassion, gladness, and indifference is a deliberate practice. You may say, I am not jealous at all. I don't have much jealousy. I don't feel jealous about many things. So I don't have to practice this friendliness. No, it is a deliberate cultivation of a habit, a reactionary, a serene response habit in the mind, in the chitta. So we don't know what vasanas are there inside us from how many lives. Probably it is just waiting for the right trigger. Yeah. So whenever you see somebody having fun, somebody is enjoying, somebody is in a happy situation, somebody is getting married and they're all happy and everything. Ah, look at this stupid girl. She's just no, she's such a uh, character. Uh, for her, she got such a nice groom. This kind of what they call as bitching about, when the people badmouth each other, the jealousy talks. I have heard about things like this. So I've heard that it seems women do a lot of this. So for instead of that, when somebody is, in spite of all their defects, they are able to enjoy something, you feel friendly towards them. You cultivate the nature. Oh, you see how you can express yourself in a friendly manner verbally, in your thoughts and in your actions, if at all, towards them. That is a right context. Yeah. So it has to be done deliberately. It will not come naturally. If it comes naturally, wonderful. That means you have already cultivated this in your past life. So similarly, uh, compassion. Whenever you see somebody in pain, whenever you see somebody in some kind of a suffering or in a difficult situation, pain is not always a puppy which is hurt. Pain is in so many ways. Anybody in a difficult situation, you are going, let us say you are having uh, you're having a nice drive on the seaside or somewhere, right? Then you see some old man, an old uh, granny carrying a lot of sticks on her head for fuel. She collects all these twigs and sticks from the shrubs around, and then she's carrying that and going in the hot sun. She's going for her house, for to collecting that firewood. Yeah. Usually, she's very emaciated. Probably she's hungry, doesn't have water, whatever. Yeah. So you try to spend a minute empathizing with her situation. Maybe if you can stop and offer some water, please offer some water. Yeah. If she's okay, she's going to say okay. You don't have to stop all the highway. If you go in the highway, you have to go somewhere. If you keep stopping for every person who is, every cart guy, every person who is going through a difficult time on the highway, you will never reach your destination. It's not that. If the situation if the situation is appropriate and everything is easy, you are planning to take a break, you are in a break or something, maybe you can offer something. Yeah. Or you can just give a nice thought. You can just think, you feel empathy and compassion for her condition, and then you say, oh no, maybe her life should get better. Can offer a small prayer like that. So instead of being indifferent to that, or when you understand, when you appreciate people who are in difficulty, when somebody is in a difficult situation, you empathize with their difficulty, and you see how you can share some thoughts and words, and if possible actions, to alleviate the suffering or to empathize and appreciate their difficulty. Then what happens is we become sensitive to others suffering, and we take that into account when we so our non-violence gets better, our ahimsa gets better. So whenever we have to express ourselves verbally or in action, our thinking will be in such a way that our words and actions hurt the other person less. We are always aiming not to hurt. So we are more sensitive, we are more aware of how a person could be hurt, and we try to avoid hurting another person. So that ahimsa gets better when we develop karuna towards those who are in dukkha or in a difficult situation. So similarly, when we develop appreciation and gladness towards virtuous acts, we don't develop comparison and envy and ego complex or inferiority complex. All these problems will not come. Similarly, when we develop indifference, we are available for affirmative action. At the same time, we protect our peace of mind from inevitable sinful things and evil things that happen around us. We can't do anything about it. So at least let me not be affected by it, so that I am available for what I have to pursue in my journey. Right. So this becomes very important. This cultivation of these four qualities. Bhavanartha means you live it. You live that situation in your thought, word, and action, so that it becomes a mental habit, and that habit gets embedded as a samskara. So the serenity or prasadanam, chitta prasadanam, becomes your second nature. Yeah. And that is an appreciation of the mind. The mind develops a natural taste for remaining calm and peaceful. How a restless youth, this punk rock, all these people who are under the influence of all kinds of things, how they develop a taste for strong sensations. You see these video game addicted people and these kids. So they are constantly going for stronger and stronger sensations, and that's what is the lies at the root of addiction. In any addiction, you are looking for a strong sensation. So that strong sensation based pleasure or happiness is a rajasic and a tamasic happiness. So that is very short lived, has side effects, can affect your health, can affect your sanity, and you will have to work a lot for it. And it is very short lived. You do a lot of work and then one get one exciting moment and then it's gone. And again, you do a lot of work and get another exciting. So this excitement based happiness requires stronger and stronger excitement every time you want to have it. This what they call as, I don't know, this dopamine, serotonin, or whatever. That pleasure principle in us, what we call as a limbic system driven joy or happiness. The limbic system centered pleasure, happiness, the pleasure principle in us. If that is a habit. So most people nowadays are addicted to many things because the mind is used to the happiness that is dependent on the kind of ananda that is dependent on excitement of the limbic system. So only that pleasure from limbic engagement, that rack brain, the pleasure principle based rack brain, that small brain based enjoyment alone the mind is used to. That is why it is going again and again behind that. So cultivating chitta prasadanam, or the serene state of mind that is based on sattva guna, is a habituation that will not come naturally. It has to be cultivated. But once it is cultivated and mind starts tasting it more and more, the more it will start looking for it, and more the mind will, our natural mind will learn to prioritize peace, harmony, and sattvic happiness over other forms of excitement, of pleasure, or of the ego. So you are proving your point. This is called maturity. As a person becomes a little more educated and mature, you will see that they give more importance to peace and harmony between two people in a relationship than to winning an argument. A Rajasic person will always give priority for winning the argument, while a Sattvic person will always give priority for a harmonious relationship. It's okay. If the other person wins the argument, let him win the argument. It is better to have a more peace between both of us than winning some temporary argument. The relationship is more important than temporary argument between couples, between husband and wife. Instead of insisting your point and feeling the high that you have won this argument, as a mind that is cultivated to serenity, that that has tasted the beauty and peace of the serenity of chitta prasadanam, will always prioritize peace over power. It will always prioritize love over lust. It will always prioritize harmony over immediate ego gratification. And this allows our buddhi to pursue what is more important. What is more important is called Shreya, Shreyas. What is good for us in the long run? What is immediately pleasing or gratifying is called praise. Right? So the mind learns to prioritize Shreyas over praise. So that is the benefit of this practice called Chitta Prasadanam. So regarding this, you may ask any questions, or if you have some other questions from last class or anything else, you are welcome. So I just wanted to introduce this practice. You can always read, there are commentaries on this Yoga Sutra. You can read that and come with your questions. And when you try to apply, I have given a broad outline of this principle. So when you try to apply this, how it affected you, how you are able to do, what are the difficulties that you face, what blocks you face. Because each one of us will have certain triggers. Triggers differs from person to person. So I will ask you to choose your strongest trigger. It might be jealousy or envy. It might be, losing your peace over stuff that happens in the world that's out of your control and constantly brooding over that. Or it could be uh, learning to have a vicarious sadistic pleasure by bad mouthing others, you know these kind of things. You have to do an introspection and see which one you need to practice more: friendliness, compassion, gladness, or indifference. What you need to practice more, you have to think, do some soul searching, and then you practice that. You understand the principle, practice it in your own way, and please come back with your feedback and we can discuss further and see if we can give any extra finer touch to make it more effective. Yeah. Okay. So questions.
Yes, namaste. This
Ah,
is
okay.
I have a question
Yes.
on this subject.
Yes.
What you're saying about indifference to virtuous and non-virtuous. Appreciating someone
Indifference
is doing
towards
a
the
virtuous thing
non-virtuous,
and to
not
the
indifference towards the
non-virtuous
virtuous.
things.
Your voice is not clear. You might have to be a
Yeah.
little loud.
Okay. Indifference to non-virtuous, right? And what is this? How to differentiate this indifference to the non-virtuous versus apathy?
Ah, good. Apathy is
Thank you.
apathy is more not. It's a state of mind that comes from not seeing the lack of virtue in that. Not seeing it as non-virtuous, not recognizing the sinful part in it, and the it is more about our. Can you give me an example of apathy so that I will be able to explain better?
The same, yes, sure. The same, as you're saying, something non-virtuous happened, and basically we cannot do anything on that particular situation, but we can see it is not virtuous and making sure that it is not affecting one's balance of the mind. Uh, that is great, but as you said, not able to see there is a non-virtuous things happening. For example, saying when the news is all coming up, and we don't want to see that because why to spoil
Ah,
the
so
peace? So I don't want to see this, or I don't want to. Mm.
apathy comes from an attitude of dislike and carelessness. Apathy is driven by dislike. So you have to look at your motivation. Dislike and carelessness, that comes from apathy. That's where apathy comes from. But upeksha comes from understanding. Upeksha comes from learning to see it as a part of a big picture and resolving it within the big picture. For example, I will give you a standard example. Somebody is a vegetarian. We don't want to hurt animals because a yoga practitioner is a vegetarian, doesn't want to hurt animals. Yeah. But animals being killed for food is part of life. Now you see a tiger hunting in a forest, in a lamb. When you see a National Geographic video, let's take an example of a National Geographic video where a tiger hunts a deer. The deer is running for its life. The tiger is hunting the deer. Now, will you empathize with the tiger's hunger? or will you empathize with the deer's right to live? Can we take any side there? Can we take a side there? If we look in nature, jivo jivena jivanti, life feeds on life. That is the reality of nature. There is violence everywhere. All life is in violence. There is not absence of violence in the food cycle anywhere. Entire food cycle of the universe is absolutely violent. Yeah, agriculture is violent. To make agriculture, to make a field, when you plow the field, so many worms are destroyed. And when you clear a land for agriculture, you have to clear all the plants that are natural to that habitat, and you have to cultivate. It is not the same as going in the forest and gathering some food. It is violent. Agriculture is violent. So if you look at life, you understand that this is the circle of life. This is the cycle of food cycle. Cannot do anything about it. So that is this understanding allows you to have a kind of neutrality where you don't take sides. You understand life as a whole and see this thing in its place. You see where this person, you see the cause and effect relationship. You see where this non-virtuous action is coming from, what is causing it. You understand the cause effect relationship, and you understand where you stand, what you can do, can you do something or not. And so you understand the whole situation, the big picture. And because you understand the big picture, you are able to maintain a certain kind of neutrality that does not push you to take sides and condemn one thing over the other and then lose your peace over it. So this is upeksha. It is born of understanding. Apathy is completely different. Apathy is like, it's coming from an attitude of carelessness and dislike, and you don't care for, yeah, this is all the time happening, who cares? That is apathy. I don't want to look at it. Please don't show me all those things. This is apathy. But a person with upeksha will not have a problem when a sinful action comes into their attention. But a person with apathy will have a problem and will try to get rid of that information from their head. You understand? So
Yes, yes.
yes, so that problem is not there for a person with upeksha. That one who has cultivated that sublime indifference does not have that rush to get rid of that information from the head. That information does not disturb his peace because that information is resolved in the broader framework of a higher understanding. That is the difference.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
I have a question. Can you hear me? Okay.
Pranav, anybody else has question? One second. No one else. Yes. Tell me, Pranav. I
Yes.
heard like two voices. That's what I have.
In Sutra 1,
Sorry,
Sutra
your voice is breaking.
1.30.
Can you check your connection and
Let
talk
me
again?
type it.
Hmm.
Let me type it.
Yes, yes. Make it crisp and to the point.
Yes, yes.
So we are waiting for question in the chat from Mr. Pranav. Yes, yes. Suppressed emotions. Yes. Suppressed emotions are very good, very good question. So suppressed emotions also have to be dealt with. What we can do is you have to relive that situation. So what you have to do is to find time. The same principle can be used. The same Maitri Karuna Madito Upeksha. A situation affects you, has affected you in the past, and you have this emotional trauma about it. This is what they do in therapy. This cognitive behavioral therapy, neuro linguistic programming, and all this self reflection. There are so many types of therapies. So what you have to do is not meditate on it, but find the context of expressing that emotion. Find a context that will allow you to express this emotion without any fear of external judgment or rejection. Now, there is also internal judgment and reaction to the emotion, that you cannot believe that you have such emotion. So you are not comfortable with that emotion. So you suppress it. That also could be a reason. Or you did not find the right situation to express that emotion, so you suppressed it. That also could be a reason. So what you have to do is find a safe space where you can express that emotion or relive that emotion in your imagination, or through writing, or through a conversation where somebody is ready to listen. Somebody trustworthy is ready to listen. Yeah. So one of these. And then as the emotion comes up into your attention, as the emotion gets triggered through this process, or in a life situation where you suddenly discover something that triggered in you an emotion that you had kept suppressed for some time, some situation, something that came to your attention, it triggered this emotion that you did not visit for a long time, but it triggered this. Yeah, that also is possible. So anytime, either when the emotion is triggered, or when you consciously trigger it and bring it out in a safe space of expression, completely accept that emotional you without any judgment. But you don't have to approve that. The main difference in yoga is you don't approve that emotional you. You just don't disapprove that emotional you and try to brush it aside. You give all the attention that is needed, and you see what, simply learn to see what is causing it. Simple awareness of the cause of that emotion. Sustaining this awareness on the cause of that emotion. Spending quality time with the cause of that emotion, with awareness of the cause of that emotion while the emotion is expressing, in an attitude of complete acceptance and giving it space to be. When you do that, your self-awareness will awaken inside the emotional you. The emotional you will become self-aware. In the sense, you will be able to process it or rewire it. That is, you will be able to recondition or create a different attitude towards the same situation that caused that emotion. Because you are mature. Sometimes we would have been immature and would have gotten emotional. So when that emotion comes back now, either through an external trigger or consciously brought out in a safe space, and when we totally confront that emotional self with complete acceptance, giving the space to be without judgment, just aware of it, and you are aware of the cause of why you felt emotion, you become very keenly aware of the cause. There you have the opportunity to develop a different kind of attitude towards the same situation. The memory is the same, memory of the event is the same, but your attitude towards that situation, your attitude, that is your sense of self, your ego state in that situation, can change based on the situation, based on how it is getting processed. You can process it in front of a therapist or somebody else who can facilitate it, or your teacher who can facilitate it, or you can, if you have enough inputs and knowledge, you can do it yourself. So that's how you deal with suppressed emotions. Not trying to get rid of it, not trying to suppress it again, and not judging yourself because you had that emotion. And do not develop a negative self concept because negative self concept because you felt that emotion, nor try to gratify that emotion because you have that emotion. You don't have to satisfy that emotional self. That is another nonsense that is happening. Every kind of emotional lack they had before, they try to find context to satisfy that emotional side of them. That is also not required. Neither had you have to satisfy, nor you have to reject, nor you have to judge. You have to understand the cause of that emotion and see if that ego state behind that emotion that caused that emotion, if that ego state can be changed to something more mature, something that is more in alignment with right knowledge. So that would be the yogic way of dealing with suppressed emotion. Did I answer your question? How much of Sutra 133 can be cultivated through our choice, and how much happens as we progress through Ashtanga Yoga? Because, like cleaning the subtle dirt of the mind, and I understood that the subtle dirt can only be cleaned through meditation. No, it's not about cleaning the subtle dirt. It is, let us put it in a different way. It is about Chitta Prasadanam. It's about rehabituating the mind to respond to things in a more sattvic way. I will put it like that. It is reconditioning the mind. Yeah. So, any other questions? It is. It happens. It is only cultivated. How much it happens through Ashtanga Yoga? It's in the sense as Viveka develops, as Vairagya develops, as the sattvic qualities develop from Yama Niyama and Pranayama and all the other practices. It becomes easier to do this, and the mind also develops the tendency, what you call as nirodha samskara that comes from yogic practices, gives the mind the habituation to wanting to maintain peace. But the emotional personality may not refine. The emotional personality has to refine only by working at the emotional. The emotional personality will not be active, will not be dominant. That comes from Ashtanga Yoga normally. But the refinement and arriving at an emotional personality that is a mature, all-rounded, and a sattvic emotional personality that to be cultivated, that doesn't simply come from Ashtanga Yoga. That has to be cultivated like this. That is why even if you see Buddhist masters, they practice a lot of deliberate compassion. It's called Matta Bhavana and all that. And then even when you read uh, extreme Advaita, extreme Vedanta texts like Avaduta Gita, Ashtavakra Gita, even those top end jnana text, even they insist on cultivating qualities like friendliness, compassion, etc. It comes to that, after a person has attained, understood the truth, still they say one should cultivate all these qualities. All that comes even in Ashtavakra Gita and texts like that and Avaduta Gita, etc., where they completely dismiss the universe. It's based on Ajatavada. They completely dismiss the universe and everything, but still they insist on this because the emotional personality refinement is a task on its own. So I don't see any other questions. So with that, I will conclude this class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vadishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Thank you.